Does Tennessee's offense need an overhaul? It's on our YouTube page. Please put that up there. Yes, there are problems, 50%. No, just small changes, 39%. And then all is good, 11%. Does it surprise you that 50% of our fans say that there are problems, like it needs an overhaul? Does that surprise you?
Yeah, I do. And I'm glad our fans are smart, because I know some people, some Tennessee fans are not Tennessee fans, some national media have been, and I hate when they do this now in college football, when they pull up the stats, they're like, Tennessee averages this many points a game, and they average this many yards. And it's like, yeah, but they pad those points and yards against Kent State and Chattanooga, and they never show what they're doing against, like, don't you think we should separate stats nowadays, Dave? Like your yards per game against SEC competition versus against your Power 5 competition versus your yards per game against Kent State and things like that.
I've thought that for roughly 15 years. So there you go. I mean, there are times I write that Tennessee after September has the second best offense in the SEC, and I'm like, am I lying to my readers?
Yeah, exactly.
I feel dirty.
Because you're right. Because back in the day, they would always play like the easiest road in September. It's so funny. Or like back in the day, my favorite was when Johnny Majors were like, we have the best record in November of any SEC team. Well, yeah, who are you playing in November? But
well, no, I'm back in the day, 2024, last year. I felt like after September, when I was talking about Tennessee had a good offense, that they really didn't. By the way, on our message board, there should be a Carfax for transfer players. Some of them have serial numbers scratched off too.
Cooper Mays here. Hit like and subscribe.
Do it.
Coop here. First down.
All right. First down, Caleb, as we will ask this question, our poll question, but let's talk about some transfer portal needs. First of all, give me the 4 positions that you think Tennessee has the biggest concern with the transfer portal, and then we'll break them each down.
I'm going linebacker, defensive tackle, offensive line, and wide receiver.
Okay, let's start with a linebacker.
Okay, that's the 4th biggest need.
Okay.
So linebacker, I think they have their starters for next year. Arian Carter's a future superstar. I think Jeremiah Thielander will develop in the offseason. Who do they have after that?
Yeah, you're thin. I mean, you're very, very thin. The problem is you have 2 starters. So my question is, can you go to a guy who is at another school and just get him with NIL cash? Or what do you get him with? Because playing time's not going to be one of them.
Yeah, you try to get him with NIL cash and maybe promise him that he'll be in the rotation, and maybe he's just a freshman. Maybe he's just played 1 year, something like that. But I think that's your best bet. But yeah, you've got to do something, because I do think that, like, look, linebacker is, I don't think there's one. We're not so sure. One, I think just for the sole purpose, maybe promise some competition. Jeremiah Thielander needs some competition at middle linebacker this year. He shouldn't be given that starting role.
Yeah, but I do think he's going to be really good, even though I was down on him and he made some mistakes when he was forced in there with Keenan Pili. I do think he's going to be really good. So that is linebacker. What were the other 3 positions, sir?
All right, so let's go to, well, let's hit second down, and then I can give you the 3.
I will. Give me the other 2 because I need the other ones.
All right, defensive tackle, offensive line, and wide receiver.
Okay, all right.
Cooper Mays here. Second down.
All right, defensive tackle.
I'm switching. I'm moving wide receiver down. Let's do wide receiver here.
Okay,
they're the 3rd most
wide receiver here.
Yeah, I had wide receiver number 1, but with Mike Matthews back, they're down to number 3.
Okay. Wide receiver, they still don't have a lot of returning depth. They got Brazel, Staley, Matthews.
And Staley barely played. And Matthews barely
you lose
played.
Squirrel White. To me, that's the number 1 concern, given how this offense operates. But
yeah, but I
agree to disagree.
I think that, and this is where you and I break. I actually think that, I think you can, in this system, I still think you can plug guys in at wide receiver. I don't think route running or hands is that important at wide receiver in this system. I just think speed is, honestly.
Okay. Kyle said we don't need linebacker help. Well, you're both right. If Tennessee, Jeremiah Thielander and Arian Carter are 100%, it's a team strength. If one of them gets hurt, you got a problem.
Got a big problem. Huge problem.
Right. Ready for third down?
So yeah, let's go to third down.
Boom goes the dynamite.
Tennessee center Cooper Mays here. Third down.
All right, third down.
Defensive tackle. I mean, let's just talk about who's being lost this year. I mean, Amari Thomas, Bryson Eason, Elijah Simmons. I believe Jackson Boyd does return. Excuse me. But Omar Norman Lott. You just lose a ton of guys at defensive tackle, and that was such a strength being able to rotate so many guys this year. They gotta open up the NIL checkbook for some defensive tackles. Honestly, I think they should spend as much on that as offensive line this all season.
Somebody mentioned Spillman. Did we leave him out there? Did you mention Spillman?
Spillman?
Yes.
At linebacker?
Yes.
I mean,
I've actually heard good stuff about him. I will tell you that I think he's going to be a good player. I think what's weird for me is with the way Tennessee runs that pseudo nickel position linebacker. I don't know where exactly Spillman fits in because he feels like a weak side linebacker to me, but the weak side linebacker is now taken up by a lighter nickelback. So I don't know where he ends up, but I do think
such a great band. I love Nickelback so much.
It's terrible. All right, what down are we
by
on?
the way, you know how I feel about those Lipscomb kids. That's why I'm backing off of Spillman right now.
What down are we on? Are we on defensive tackles?
We were talking defensive tackles on third down, but I was saying, they got Amari Thomas, Omar Norman Lott, Bryson Eason, Elijah Simmons are all gone. They gotta get more help at defensive tackle this year.
Yep, I agree with that. What down, Coop?
All SEC center Cooper Mays here. Fourth down.
All right, fourth down, the position that is most important for the Vols to address. And 4 downs brought to you in part by our good friends at Dynasty Pools and Spas. Dave Hooker here for Dynasty Pools and Spas, your home for the best spas and everything you need to jump right in. Relaxing, therapeutic, absolutely. But what sets Dynasty Pools and Spas apart from others is that you get everything with any spa purchase. You get the cover lift, the steps, delivery, and chemicals. When Dynasty Pools and Spas delivers your spa from their Athens location within 125 miles, you'll get your own personal hydrotherapy spa. Mention me, Dave Hooker, or Off the Hook Sports, and get $500 off your top quality new spa. Dynasty Pools and Spas, just off the Athens exit. Drop in and receive a free gift from Off the Hook Sports, Dynasty Pools and Spas. Mention Off the Hook Sports for a drop-in prize and that $500 discount, Dynasty Pools and Spas. To check out some of the Dynasty Spa models and to buy spa chemicals, go to dynastypoolsandspas.com. I'm going to go out on a limb. Edwin Spillman will be an all-SEC player.
That's hot.
All SEC center Cooper Mays here. Fourth down.
Next position that Tennessee needs to address in the transfer portal is?
This one is so obvious, but it's offensive line. Now, they did add Wendell Moe Jr., the Arizona transfer. So I think they have the replacement for Javonte Spraggins. Andre Carrick is trying to get another year of eligibility. But center is an issue. Right tackle is an issue. Depth is an issue on the offensive line right now. And they still have yet to start a player out that Josh Heupel signed out of high school on this offensive line going into year 5.
Satterwhite will be the guy. Larry Johnson will be a guy.
Is he a guy or is he like? I think there's a difference between a guy and like a player.
I feel like between Spillman, Johnson, and Satterwhite, that I'm just telling you that everybody's going to be great. But I've heard great things about those 3 guys. I think Larry Johnson, when he adds some more strength, he gets his mitts on you. He has a long reach, and I think he'll be a very good tackle. I think Satterwhite I like a lot. I've talked to Coop about him. Coop's very high on him, and Coop's never misled me. And then I feel like I'm forgetting somebody. Am I forgetting somebody?
Satterwhite, Larry Johnson. I mean, if we're talking specifically on the offensive line, there's because Jackson Lampley's gone. There's Brian Grant, Max Anderson, Bennett Warren. A bunch of guys that Shamrod Umarov, Gage Ginther.
I think Sham is going to have an impact too.
Okay, well, this is the year that we find out if Josh Heupel actually ever bothered to develop and recruit high school offensive linemen. So, it's because it doesn't seem like he's had any interest in that so far. It seems like up until this point, he's recruited offensive linemen just to fill roster spots.
Well, but some of that was necessary in the first couple of years when you're trying to rebuild a program. You're not going to get the pick of the litter every time.
You're not, and I guess you don't want to do what Derek Dooley did, which is like, I want to do the pick of the litter, so I'm not going to sign an offensive lineman if it's not a guy I don't want in the whole class.
I mean, you'd rather sign. Okay, if Umarov, Johnson, Satterwhite, if two of those pan out, how much does it change your perception on Josh Heupel and his offensive line recruiting prowess or lack thereof?
It, I think, alleviates. I mean, it assuages it. Put it that way.
Assuage.
Yes.
Good word. He's Caleb Calhoun. I'm Dave Hooker, the show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com. So looking back at the transfer portal needs, I would think we would feel most confident about receiver, right? Because 2 years ago, we were saying every receiver wants to play for this offense. Now I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure that Rodney Garner and what he did last year doesn't make it easier to recruit defensive tackles. I'm not so sure that linebacker may be easier to recruit to. I don't
know. I thought what Rodney Garner did last year may make it easier, but I thought the way Tennessee's defensive line looked against elite competition draws that into question. Ohio State and Georgia, they didn't show up in those two games the way they should have. The defensive line didn't.